The sun is just beginning to rise over the rolling hills of Asheville, North Carolina, painting the sky in soft hues of pink and gold. I'm sitting on my porch, a warm mug of chamomile tea in my hands, watching the world wake up. At 72, I've learned something profound. Our bodies are miracles, capable of healing, renewing, and thriving, even as the years stack up. It's not about chasing youth. It's about embracing the quiet wisdom of age and unlocking the incredible systems already within us to live with vitality and purpose. I wasn't always this way. There was a time when I thought aging meant slowing down, accepting aches, and letting go of dreams. I spent my career as a high school history teacher in Raleigh, pouring my heart into lesson plans and grading papers late into the night. I loved my students, but the stress, the endless cups of coffee, and the quick drive-through dinners took their toll. By my early 60s, I was tired, bone deep, tired. My joints creaked, my energy flickered, and I started to wonder if this was just what getting older meant. But then, something shifted. I met Clara, a retired nurse who'd moved to Asheville to tend her garden and teach yoga to seniors. At 78, she had a spark in her eyes, a spring in her step, and a story that changed everything. Clara introduced me to the idea that our bodies have a built-in system for renewal, a kind of cellular magic that keeps us vibrant if we give it a chance. She called it the body's inner gardener, a process where our cells clean house, repair damage, and make way for new growth. Scientists call it autophagy. But Clara described it as the body's way of sweeping away the old to make room for the new. She learned about it not from textbooks, but from her own journey, years of nursing, caring for patients, and studying the habits of people who lived long, joyful lives. Her words stuck with me. Your body wants to heal, Henry. You just have to stop getting in its way. That conversation was a turning point. I started to see aging not as a decline, but as an opportunity to work with my body's natural wisdom. Clara shared stories of people she'd met, patients, neighbors, even her own mother, who thrived into their 80s and 90s by adopting simple, intentional habits. These weren't complicated diets or grueling workouts. They were small, daily choices that aligned with the body's rhythms: eating thoughtfully, moving with purpose, resting deeply, and finding joy in connection. Inspired by Clara, I began to explore these ideas, weaving them into my life in ways that felt natural and sustainable. What I discovered was a roadmap to vitality that I want to share with you, a way to unlock your body's hidden power and live your later years with strength and meaning. Let's start with the food we eat, because that's where so much of this begins. I used to think a healthy diet meant cutting out everything I loved. Goodbye biscuits. Goodbye ice cream. But Clara taught me it's not about deprivation. It's about nourishment. She introduced me to the idea of eating like the elders in small southern towns, where meals were simple, whole, and tied to the land. Think collard greens simmered with a touch of garlic, black-eyed peas with a sprinkle of herbs, or a slice of cornbread made from scratch. These foods aren't just comforting. They're packed with nutrients that support your body's inner gardener. One habit Clara swore by was giving her body a break from constant eating. She called it resting the kitchen. In her nursing days, she noticed that patients who ate lighter meals and left long gaps between dinner and breakfast seemed to recover faster. Science backs this up. When you go 12 to 14 hours without food, your body shifts into a repair mode, clearing out damaged cells and boosting energy. I started doing this myself, finishing dinner by 6 p.m., and waiting until 8 a.m. for breakfast. At first, I worried I'd be hungry, but I found that a glass of warm water with a squeeze of lemon or a cup of herbal tea kept me satisfied. That overnight break became my body's time to reset, and I woke up feeling lighter, clearer, like the fog in my mind had lifted. I also learned to listen to my body's cues about how much to eat. Clara had a saying, "Leave the table wanting a little more." In the South, we love our big portions, but I started serving myself smaller plates, savoring each bite, and stopping when I felt about 80% full. It's not about counting calories. It's about trusting your body to tell you when it's had enough. This habit, rooted in mindfulness, gives your digestive system a chance to work efficiently, leaving energy for healing and renewal. Over time, I noticed my clothes fit better, my joints ached less, and I had more stamina for my morning walks. Speaking of walks, movement became another cornerstone of my journey. I'm not talking about running marathons or lifting heavy weights. Clara used to say, "Move like you're tending a garden, steady, gentle, every day." She'd take her seniors' yoga group to a park near her house, where they'd stretch under the oak trees, breathe deeply, and feel the grass under their feet. I started with short walks around my neighborhood, noticing the dogwoods blooming or the way the air smelled after rain. Those 20-minute strolls became my meditation, a time to clear my head and let my body find its rhythm. I also joined a local community center where they offered chair yoga for seniors. At first, I felt self-conscious me, a retired teacher, trying to balance in a room full of strangers. But the instructor, a kind woman named Ruth, made it feel like play. We'd stretch our arms like branches, twist gently to loosen our spines, and laugh when we wobbled. Those classes didn't just strengthen my body. They reminded me how good it feels to move with others, to share a smile, to be part of something. Research shows that gentle movement like walking or yoga boosts circulation, eases inflammation, and even supports that cellular cleanup process. Clara loved. But for me, it was about joy, the simple pleasure of feeling alive in my skin. Sleep came next, though I didn't realize how much it mattered until Clara pointed it out. In my teaching days, I'd stay up late grading papers, surviving on 5 hours of sleep and caffeine. I thought that was normal. But Clara explained that sleep is when your body does its deepest healing, repairing tissues, clearing toxins, and strengthening your immune system. She had a ritual: no screens an hour before bed, a warm bath with lavender oil, and a notebook where she'd jot down 3 things she was grateful for. I adopted a version of this, swapping the bath for a cup of chamomile tea and keeping a small journal by my bed. Writing down moments of gratitude like a kind word from a neighbor or the taste of fresh peaches shifted something in me. It quieted my mind, and I started sleeping deeper, waking up refreshed. What surprised me most was how much these habits changed my outlook. I used to worry about what I couldn't do anymore: run a mile, stay up past midnight, or keep up with my grandkids' energy. But Clara's approach wasn't about fighting age. It was about embracing it. She believed that purpose keeps us young, and she lived that truth. After retiring, she volunteered at a local food bank, taught yoga, and tended her garden, always finding ways to give back. Her life had meaning, and that fueled her vitality. I started looking for my own purpose, small ways to stay engaged. I joined a book club at the library, where we read everything from history to poetry and argued good-naturedly over coffee. I also began volunteering at a nearby school, reading to kids and sharing stories from my teaching days. Those hours gave me a sense of connection, a reminder that I still had something to offer. Studies show that people with a sense of purpose live longer and have lower rates of depression. But for me, it was simpler. It felt good to belong, to matter. Connection became another pillar of my new way of living. In my 60s, I'd let friendships slip, too busy or too tired to keep up. But Clara reminded me that humans are social creatures. We thrive when we're together. She hosted potlucks in her backyard, where neighbors brought casseroles and swapped stories under string lights. I started inviting friends over for simple dinners, nothing fancy, just soup and cornbread, and those evenings filled my heart. I also made a point to call my daughter and grandkids every week, not just to catch up, but to really listen, to share in their joys and worries. Those bonds, old and new, became my anchor, reminding me that love is the heartbeat of a good life. As I wove these habits into my days, I noticed something else. Gratitude started to color everything. Clara used to say, "Find the good, even when it's small." On tough days when my knees ached or the news felt heavy, I'd look for one thing to be thankful for: a cardinal at my feeder, a warm blanket, a kind cashier at the grocery store. That practice didn't erase the hard stuff, but it softened it, made it easier to carry. Research suggests gratitude lowers stress and boosts immunity. But for me, it was about perspective, a way to see my life as full, even in its imperfections. Learning kept my mind sharp. 2. Clara was a lifelong learner, always reading about herbs or trying new recipes. She inspired me to stay curious. I took up birdwatching, borrowing a guidebook from the library and jotting down the names of sparrows and finches I spotted. I also started a small herb garden on my porch: basil, rosemary, mint, tending it with the same care I'd once given my lesson plans. Those small acts of discovery kept me engaged, reminding me that there's always something new to explore, no matter your age. Resilience grew from all of this, though I didn't see it at first. Life doesn't stop throwing challenges just because you're older. Health scares, loss, change, they come for us all. But the habits I'd built gave me a foundation. When I had a minor surgery last year, I recovered faster than expected, thanks to my eating, moving, and sleeping routines. When I lost a dear friend, the connections I'd nurtured at book club, with family, carried me through. Clara used to say, "You're stronger than you know," and I started to believe her. Now, as I sit on this porch, watching the sun climb higher, I feel a quiet pride. I'm not perfect. I still sneak a slice of pecan pie now and then, and some days I'd rather nap than walk. But I've learned to trust my body's wisdom, to give it the care it needs to keep healing, renewing, and thriving. This isn't about living forever. It's about living well, with purpose and joy, for as long as I'm here. I think of Clara often, her laughter, her stories, her belief that age is a gift. She passed last year at 82 peacefully, in her garden. Her life wasn't long by some measures, but it was full, vibrant, meaningful, connected. She showed me that the golden years can be just that, golden, not because they're flawless, but because they're yours to shape. So, wherever you are, whatever your days look like, know this: your body is still working for you, ready to heal and renew if you give it a chance. Start small. Sip some tea, take a walk, call a friend, write down one thing you're grateful for. These aren't grand gestures, but they're powerful. They're the threads that weave a life of vitality, purpose, and joy. And that, my friend, is a life worth living.